What's up, guys? Welcome to today's show. So, today we are going to learn about loops. And what is a loop? Well, sometimes you want to do iterations in your code. You want one thing to happen several times, so to speak. I think it would be easiest to see an example. Let's say I wanted to write a program which asks the user, do you want to quit this program? And if the user presses 1, the program will quit. Otherwise, it will keep asking the same thing. How would you do that in C? Well, one naive way of doing it would be something like this. We create a variable, let's say x, print the message, do you wish to quit? Press 1. Then we use scanf to read that integer from the user. We check if that x is equal to 1. This is what we learned yesterday. But what do we want to happen in case it is 1? Well, we want to quit the program. And one way of doing that is just using the return 0 statement. There are other ways, but in this case, this is easiest. All right, and if it's not 1, we want to keep doing this. So, as I mentioned, there is a naive way, and that is to just do this. But as you might understand, this will work, but only to a certain degree. If the user presses 0 enough times, you will run out of these, and the program will exit anyway, right? So this is not a viable solution, and it's definitely not a manageable solution. So how do we do it? Well, there are different kinds of loops in C. There are while loops, and let me list them. There are while, and there are do, which are related to while. And then there are for loops. And for loops is a little bit more advanced, so we will wait a couple of episodes for that. And do is basically the same as while, but while is quite simple to understand, so let's start there. We can just do while and then a parenthesis, and we type in a 1, let's say. And then we do one of these, curly brace. And then we want to select, okay, what lines of code do we wish to repeat? And it's all of these, right? So that means you will put the other curly brace after here. So we select everything in between here. And we can also jump out one step, like so. So the code will be easier to read and to understand that this is connected to this while loop. All right, and then we will just, as we always do, put in the return 0 here. But please note that this return 0 will never be reached, because either all of this will repeat itself indefinitely, or the user will type in 1 and we will quit using this return statement. So we don't really need this, but you should put it in anyway, just to end your main function properly. Alright, so let's go into the right directory, and you can change the directory folder using the cd command. Cd ... means that we move up one step in the hierarchy, and cd space the name of the folder moves into that directory. Alright, so here is our file. Let's compile it, and we can, by the way, if we type just a W and hit the tab, it will fill in the rest for us. So that's one tip. And let's start this thing. Do you wish to quit? Press 1. No. So I press 0, or I press 5 or 3 or whatever. Anything but 1 will just keep repeating. If we type in 1, the program terminates. So that's simple enough. This is what we call an endless loop. This loop will loop until until the program exits, basically. And this 1 that we have here, this is like a condition in an if statement. As long as this condition is true, we will keep looping. And if we, instead of having like if var is equal to 5, this kind of thing, if we just put a 1 there, that means that it should always be true. Same if we put in a 0 here, that means this should never be true. So if we run this program, it will do nothing. It will not even run this code once, because it checks if this is true, and if not, it just skips over the whole thing. Alright, but let's say we have some message down here, which, let's say that this is important. And as I mentioned, this code will never run, because either we quit with this or it repeats itself. But what if we want to run this code before we exit? Well, instead of this return 0 statement right here that exits the whole program, we can just break out of this endless loop by using the break command, like this. So if x is 1, then we break out of the loop and continue the execution of this program after this curly brace. So we will print this thing. And we can double check that it really works. And if we type 1, it prints our important message. Okay, so that's the while loop. We could also do, by the way, instead of doing this if statement here, we can remove that and put the condition right here. So if x is not equal to 1, then we want to continue looping. But as soon as it is equal to 1, when we type in the 1, right, then the program will exit. So this is the same code as the one we had. And I have a font which makes these symbols when you type in this kind of stuff, but what I'm really typing is this, without the space in between. So an exclamation point followed by an equal sign, that means not equal to. So while x is not equal to 1, do this indefinitely. But as soon as it is equal to 1, break out of the loop. And we can double check that this works. Let's set this x variable first to 0. Right, because if we don't assign a value to a variable, it might have some random value. Because if we don't assign it explicitly, it will just point somewhere in memory, basically, so it can contain anything. So always explicitly set a variable before you use it in a condition. And as we can see, the program still behaves the way we intended. All right, so what have we learned today? We have learned that this is the correct way if we want to repeat stuff in our code. We are using a loop. And specifically, we're using a while loop. And a while loop works that way, that as long as the condition is true, this code will repeat. As soon as the condition is false, then we will break out of this loop and continue execution of the program after the curly brace. We can also quit the loop on our own using the break command, for instance in an if statement. And there are also other loops, like for loops and do loops, which we will talk more about later. And we did also learn, as a little bonus, that we should always explicitly define a variable before we want to use it to something, because it's not automatically 0 from start. All right, so exercise. I want you to write a program with a loop that uses a countdown. It will first print 10, then 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 0. And when it hits 0, it should print a boom and then exit. All right? And if you succeed in writing this program, please let me see the code, paste it in a comment. And if you don't succeed and have any questions, please put that inside of a comment as well. If you like this episode and this series, please like and subscribe, and maybe you can recommend it to a friend. And thanks for watching. Thanks for today.